It's 2:47 in the afternoon, and Marcus is sitting in his car in the parking lot of his own office, not going in yet. Nothing's wrong. He's not late, he's not in trouble, he just got a notification on his phone. Automatic payment processed, $312, and for a second, he did the thing he always does, the little flinch, the mental check of whether the account can cover it. Except this time it can, easily. The car's paid off now. The last card got cleared in March. And he's sitting there in the driver's seat, realizing he just braced for an impact that isn't coming anymore, the way you keep reaching for a railing on a staircase you've already finished climbing. 3 blocks away, his coworker Dana just bought a new couch on 12 months no-interest financing, and she feels great about it, smart even, because it's no interest. And here's the thing nobody would guess looking at the two of them. Marcus, who drives the older car and just sat in a parking lot for 4 minutes for no reason, is about to start making decisions Dana literally cannot make. Not because he earns more, he doesn't. My name is Nick, and I spend an unreasonable amount of time thinking about why two people pulling almost identical paychecks end up living lives that don't even rhyme. Today we're talking about something the personal finance world treats as a footnote, a victory lap. A nice job, now invest the difference. But what actually happens to your money, your brain, your body, and your decisions the day you make that final debt payment is so much bigger than a freed-up line item. And somewhere in here I'm going to tell you about a study run through the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences that found wiping out debt didn't just make people feel better, it measurably raised their IQ on cognitive tests. Not their mood, their actual performance. Hold on to that because it rewires how you should think about every dollar you owe right now. Let's start with the numbers because they're worse than people admit. The average American carries about $6,580 in credit card debt, and the average interest rate on that balance is sitting around 21%. Run that math slowly. If you carry $6,000 at 21% and make minimum payments, you will pay over $9,000 in interest alone, and it will take you more than 18 years to clear it. You bought a couch and paid for 3. The total household debt in this country just crossed $18 trillion, and the average non-mortgage debt load per person, cards, auto, student, personal loans, runs north of $21,000. The median take-home pay is roughly $4,500 a month. So before a single bill, a huge share of people are sending $400, $600, $900 a month, not toward anything they own, but toward the privilege of having already spent money they didn't have. That's not buying a life. That's renting your own past. Meet the Reyes family. Combined income $86,000, which sounds workable until you watch it evaporate. After taxes, they bring home about $5,600 a month. Car loan, $480. The second car, $390. 2 credit cards, they're managing. Minimums of $210 and $185. A personal loan they took to consolidate the first round of credit cards, $340. Student loans, $420. Before rent, before food, before electricity, they are shoveling $2,025 a month into debt payments. And here's the cruel part. Most of that isn't even reducing what they owe. It's interest. They are running at full sprint to stay in exactly the same place. Every conversation they have about the future runs through one silent gate. Can we make the minimums this month? Mr. Reyes wants to switch to a job he'd actually like that pays $4,000 less a year. He can't. Mrs. Reyes wants to take 3 months to retrain into a field that's hiring. She can't. The debt has quietly become a manager that signs off on every decision they make, and it always votes no. More on them shortly. So let's talk about what actually frees up when the debt is gone. And let's be precise, because people get this wrong in both directions. When the Reyes family clears that $2,025 a month, they don't suddenly have $2,025 to play with. Some of those balances were already going to disappear. The real, deployable, new freedom is the high-interest stuff that was bleeding them. Call it $1,400 a month that was previously vanishing into the void. Now watch what $1,400 a month does when you stop feeding it to lenders and start feeding it to yourself. At the historical 8% the market has averaged, in 5 years that's about $103,000. In 10 years, $256,000. In 20 years, $824,000. They contributed $336,000 of their own money over those 20 years. Compound growth handed them nearly $500,000 on top of it, more than they put in. The exact same dollars. One version bought a rotating parade of interest payments and a knot in the stomach. The other bought most of a retirement. Nothing changed except who they were paying. Now here's the part the finance world skips, and it's the part that matters most. That 2019 study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences I promised you, researchers took low-income people who were drowning in debt and, for some of them, simply erased it. Then they tested everyone. The people whose debt was wiped didn't just report feeling calmer, though they did. Clinical anxiety dropped sharply. They scored measurably higher on cognitive tests. They made better decisions. They became less impulsive, less likely to grab the small reward now at the cost of the big reward later. Debt, it turns out, eats your processing power. It runs as a background program that never closes, and it steals from your ability to think clearly about everything else in your life. Your job, your kids, your health. You have been making every financial decision of your adult life on a slowed-down brain, including the decision about whether to deal with the debt. Sit with how circular and unfair that is, and the finding that genuinely stopped me cold. The number of accounts you close matters more than the dollar amount you eliminate. Closing a small $1,200 card produced a bigger psychological lift than getting a much larger debt merely reduced. Your brain doesn't track balances, it tracks open tabs. Each separate debt is a separate voice in the room, and the relief isn't proportional to size. It's proportional to silence. Researchers at other institutions found people carrying high debt loads had measurably higher blood pressure and higher rates of depression, even after controlling for income. The debt isn't a metaphor sitting in a spreadsheet. Your body has been carrying it. When it's gone, your body notices before your bank statement does. Now, before I go further, I have to give the other side its strongest version, because a certain type of commenter is already typing. The argument goes, Nick, if you have low-interest debt, a 3% car loan, federal student loans, you shouldn't rush to pay it off. You should invest the difference, because the market beats 3%. And that argument is mathematically correct. A guaranteed 3% saved loses to a historical 8% earned. If you've got cheap, fixed, low-rate debt and the discipline of a monk, the spreadsheet says, invest. But here's what the spreadsheet doesn't know. It assumes you'll actually invest the difference. Most people don't. They absorb it into lifestyle within a year and have nothing to show for it. And the spreadsheet can't measure the cognitive tax we just talked about. It can't see that a person carrying 4 open accounts is making worse investing decisions the whole time, because part of their mind is permanently occupied. The math is real for high-interest debt. Anything above roughly 7%, killing it is a guaranteed return you cannot beat anywhere safely. Below 4%, it's a genuine judgment call. The honest answer was never a number. It's knowing whether you're the kind of person who invests the difference or quietly spends it. And now the part that complicates the happy ending, because if I stopped here, I'd be selling you a fantasy. Getting out of debt is freedom, but our entire economy is engineered to pull you back in the second you leave. The moment your credit score climbs from clearing those balances, the offers arrive. Pre-approved, higher limits, 0% for 18 months. The system doesn't reward you for becoming debt-free by leaving you alone. It rewards you by aggressively trying to re-enroll you, because a person with a good score and no balance is the most profitable target there is. And there's a darker layer underneath. The people who most need to escape debt are charged the most to do it. Payday loans at 400% APR, rent-to-own furniture at 3 times retail, a $200 television that costs $1,000, one weekly payment at a time. Being in debt is expensive, but being broke enough to need the worst debt is the most expensive thing of all. The exit door exists, but the building was designed to keep nudging you back through the entrance. So, what do you actually do? First, list every debt, not by balance, by interest rate, and by count. You're going to attack the highest rates for the math and knock out the smallest balances for the psychology, because closing accounts is what quiets the brain. Second, before you redirect a single freed-up dollar into investing, build 1 month of expenses in cash, so the next emergency doesn't put you right back on a card. Third, and this is the one people skip, the day an account hits 0, call and confirm it's closed and reported as paid, because lenders sometimes leave them dangling. Then deploy the freed money in order. Capture any 401k match first, since that's a 50 to 100% instant return, nothing else touches. Then a Roth IRA. Then ramp the rest into low-cost index funds. If you're redirecting that $1,400 a month, you're at $250,000 in a decade. Not because you got clever, but because you stopped paying rent on your own past and finally let compounding do what it was always going to do once you got the lenders out of the way. So, back to Marcus in that parking lot. Here's what nobody tells you. The debt was never just the payment. It was a permission slip you had to silently ask for before every real decision. Want the job you'd actually like? Better check the minimums first. Want to retrain? Take the risk? Take the breath? The debt votes, and it votes no. That's what releases when the last payment clears. Not just $312 a month, but the no. Marcus didn't sit in that car because something was wrong. He sat there because, for the first time in 11 years, nothing was, and his nervous system didn't know what to do with the quiet. A year from now, Dana will be financing the next couch, still feeling smart about it, still inside the gate. Marcus will have made a decision she structurally cannot make, and it won't be because he earned more. It'll be because he understood what that final payment was actually worth, and he ran at it on purpose.